Hello, ASA family. We're here having a great conversation, as we always do, with many of the elected officials in the city. Thank you for joining us, Borough President, Mr. Borough President Eric Adams. I want you to know that we're an educational institution. We educate thousands of students represented by the five boroughs and the tri-state area. And we have about 120 countries represented here. And our responsibility is to bring professionals like yourself to talk about the issues that impact our students and our city. So we're going to discuss some of these topics that our students care about. So thank you for joining us.
Thank you so much. It's a pleasure being here. And ASA is a college that really understands the impact of how to give a quality education to everyone. Thank you.
Well, we say we're the college of choice, but I want our students to know that you've been you retired as a captain from NYPD, and you were there 22 years. As you know, I'm the chair of the Legal Studies Department, and a lot of students who are in our division, they come in to get their associate's degree in paralegal studies and in criminal justice. So it's great that you can talk to us a little bit about that. But you also went into politics as a senator, and then currently you are the borough president. You've been there 7 years, and now you aspire to that position that everybody wants. You want to become the next mayor of New York City.
Yes, no, thank you. Thank you. And you're right, from a career in government. And my journey started out like many of your students, trying to really further our career and use education as a way to move forward. I had a terrible encounter as a child with police officers. And when the police officers assaulted us, I decided not to, turn my pain into a woe is me, but I went into a why not me. And I joined the police department and fought from within. I started an organization called 100 Blacks in Law Enforcement Who Care. And we went on to get promoted through the ranks and became a sergeant, a lieutenant, and captain. But I also went to school during the evening, like many of your students do.
That is
I took 2 classes at a time and was able to obtain my master's, but by that level of consistency.
It's interesting that you say that. And as you say, we have students from all walks of life. And a lot of our students come from where you came from and where I came from, which we talk about this every day, that we're everyday Americans that had a dream and completed that dream through education. So thank you so much for saying that. And I know a lot of my students will learn a lot from your story and your journey, as I have, because let me say this, Borough President, I read so many different interviews to get this done well. But today our students want to learn a little bit about the economy, right? And what you intend to do. I know you've done it in Brooklyn, but they want to know, should you become the next mayor, what will you do with the economy? And I'm going to start by asking you, as you know, I mean, a lot of the restaurants have closed and bars and most of the businesses since COVID-19 hit in last year in March. We want to know what your recovery plan, hopefully post COVID-19, if you get elected, what is that plan? If you could lay it out in terms of the economy.
Yes, and it is a real recovery that we must look at. Many people are understanding that the federal government is going to give us some form of stimulus, but it's important that we don't only depend on the stimulus, we must get our house in order at the same time. And I think it's imperative that our agencies must become more efficient. Many of the crises you see in our city that's causing our tax dollars to be wasted. I think we need to refocus that. And so there's several things we must do to get our economy back up and running. Number one, we have to get COVID under control.
Yes.
It's important to do that, because if we don't get COVID under control, we're not going to open our companies and our businesses. When American Express opens, when other financial institutions and companies open, then you have people go down into the local cafes, restaurants, where you have uh, employees who are real hourly employees, they're able to see the stability in their own lives. So COVID under control is important, coming up with real standards of what is expected in our office spaces so we are safe. Second, we have to get crime under control, particularly gun violence. And as the mayor, I believe it's imperative to focus on gun violence using what's called precision policing, going after many of the gangs that are participating in criminal behavior, try to convince them to get out of gang life. But for those who refuse to do so, we need to make sure that we have proper criminal justice responses to that. And third, we have to grow our economy. I think it's important to attract new industries, life sciences, cybersecurity, technology, automation, self-driving vehicles. New York should become the leader of all of these new industries that are looking for a place to grow and expand. Because remember, as a city, we are recruiters of people.
Yes,
People, you want people to come here, go to school, start working, get married, have a family, and retire here. And that is how you keep people in your city. And that is how you ensure that your economy continues to grow and thrive.
VP, you mentioned so many things in your comments, and that leads me to a lot of the questions that I already pre-did, but I wanted to dive into COVID-19. I know that today our students are really concerned about vaccination, and I know that we're going through the first phase. What is your plan? Because you have a big challenge ahead of you. What is your plan when it comes to vaccination, your specific plan?
Well, it's very important. I gave the city a 7-point plan to talk about how do we do vaccines in an equitable fashion, because we have failed to do so. We just saw a report. We just saw a report recently that there are more vaccine sites per capita in affluent parts of the city and not in the outer boroughs and throughout the entire city. That is a big mistake, because those were the areas that were hardest hit. And so we should be ensuring that the resources are on the ground. But here's another important aspect of it. It should be done in real time.
Yes.
Right now, a person goes in, they receive a vaccination, and we write and fill out a form. That is just not how government should be operating anymore. We should have handheld devices where when a person is vaccinated, it goes into a handheld device that will immediately upload a database so that we can do a mapping of, are we meeting our target areas and are we being diverse? So if we have to correct the course, we can do so immediately and not have to wait after we issued 900,000 vaccines and realize we did not give it to Black, brown, and poor communities.
You know, I'm glad you brought that up, and that leads me to my next question, because you often talk about safety and the economy, and you say that it is possible to achieve safety and justice. With everything going on in the city, can you talk a little bit about this? You talk about, you know what, we cannot attract tourism if we don't have a safe city.
Without a doubt. And, you know, safety is the prerequisite to prosperity. If you're not safe, you are not going to prosper as a city. And many people don't understand that, and they are willing to take risk. And I am not, because I lived in the city and I policed in the city when crime was at an all-time high. And I don't want my son growing up in the city that I grew up in when we were having 2,000 homicides a year and people were losing their lives for senseless level of violence. Right in the Bronx, you saw over the summer, a young girl was walking down the block holding her dad's hand, and gang members shot him. And that young baby will be traumatized for the rest of her life. And so it's important that we say to our police departments, let's rebuild trust, because safety, trust, and justice must go together. And I believe that the right mayor will have the right police commissioner that will send a message that if you are going to wear that shield you are going to be of the highest level of standard and credibility. And right now, I don't think we do that. We allow officers who violate the oath of office to stay in the department too long, sometimes for 3 and 4 years, like the Panaleo case. I say no to that. We're going to have an immediate removal of those officers who abuse their authority at the high levels.
No, I think that there's no one can dispute that you have firsthand knowledge and information and experience as to how the force, the NYPD works, because you were one of them and well respected, right? And worked and left as a captain. So I think that that view makes a lot of sense. I want to